Hi, welcome to Colour Club. In the Korp Academy, we've got a drawing challenge, and one of the prompts for the drawing challenge for November is, what is it? Inspired by the Toons. And it's all about just drawing your favourite cartoon character or something inspired by one of your favourite cartoon characters. So I've got a ton of drawing tutorials, so those of you that are on Premium, we've got to go back a couple of years, and we've got some real good 90s cartoons tutorials in there. But I thought I'd draw something new for you, and I thought we'd go for something quite something we haven't really done before as well. So we're going to draw a character called Chopper from a cartoon called One Piece, and I found the easiest way I can draw this character is by drawing him side on. But you're going to need a fair few colours for this one. So these are the colours that we're going to need. And obviously some pens and a pencil as well. Let's start with the sketchbook. It's a Spectrum Noir premium marker pad, nice and big, like A4 kind of size, maybe just a little bit bigger. It doesn't come in A4 size, but it's that kind of size. But yeah, nice and big pad for this one. We're then going to use a couple of colours for each different area of this character. So this character is kind of known for having this big hat and antlers coming out the side. So we're going to use the hat is going to be blue, so we're going to use two blues, a light blue and a dark blue essentially. And the reason we're using two is so we can just add a little bit of shadow, a little bit of blending in along the way. Okay, so if you want to use exactly the same as me, I'm using sky blue and denim, which is IB1 and TB3 from the Spectrum Noir Illustrator range. Illustrators, they've got the soft nibs, the brush nibs, so they're quite nice to use. Next, we've got this character's got a little bit of red in the peak of the hat that it's wearing and in some of the pattern on the front. But this red is kind of a soft red, so I'm going for a coral, a CR5 and a CR2. Again, light and a dark version so that we can add some shadows. So coral, CR5, CR2. The CR2 is actually called T-Rose, if that's how you prefer to know your colours. Then let's get into the skin colour. This character's got a little bit of fur, so we're going to go for some like pale furry colours of TN1, which is pale tan, and TN3, which is apricot. Shouldn't need too much of that. There's only a little tiny bit of face showing through, and only a little tiny shadow just underneath the peak of the cap and underneath the chin. Finally, let's go in with the antlers. So this is where we're going for those TN colours, those tan colours, but we're going for the darker colours this time. So TN6, TN8, that's tan and russet. And these are going to be for the antlers. Again, the same with every single colour combo we've got so far. We're going for a dark version and a light version so that we can have a little bit of a shadow in there. Now, if you're struggling with the dark and light versions of colours, or if you're just struggling to blend in at all, then just draw it flat. You know, rather than adding a little shadow with the blue, just do it flat blue. That'll be fine. Rather than adding a little shadow in the red, just do it flat red. It will still work out just as nice. If you want to level up though, try and bring in those secondary colours for the shade. Let's finish off with our pens. The marker pens I'm liking to use are Faber-Castell Pitt Artist's pen. I'm going to use 0.1 and 0.5. I think it's mainly going to be a 0.5 that I'm going to use today, but we'll use the 0.1 just in case there's any other little details that we want to add in as well. And then finally a pencil. You're going to need a pencil a lot today because this is quite a complicated character to draw. It's not one of the easiest. You know, when I'm developing tutorials and when I'm looking at other people's characters in order to bring it to you as a tutorial, I'm always looking for the easy ways to draw, the easy ways that lines follow each other, easy shapes and things like that. This one isn't particularly any of those, so yeah, we're going to need the pencil quite a lot today. Okay, we're ready to get started. Let's go and chuck these pencil lines in. We're going to start off with an oval kind of shape, quite a round oval rather than a stretched out oval. Quite a round oval, but rather than just having it at that end that way, we're just going to kind of tilt it backwards just a little bit. Okay, now this is the main part of the hat, and so we're not going to deviate too much from coming outwards and upwards from this shape. So this is the biggest, almost the biggest part of the whole character. So let's go with an oval. Like that. I'm not entirely sure you can see that, so I will zoom in a little bit. There you go. Look, there's me zoomed out zoomed in, there's my oval. That's your starting point, okay? That will work out quite nicely for us. So it's just quite a fat round oval, just slightly tipping backwards there. This is the back of the character, this is the front of the character. Okay, if we got that in, next thing we're going to do then, let's go and put in, we're going to draw the peak of the cap, which is going to come out from the bottom here. We're going to draw the peak of the cap, but as it comes out from the bottom, we draw the peak, and we're going to go up, because it's quite a thick peak. As we go back into the hat, we're going to drop it down, which is going to be for like a little buckle as well, okay? So just here, look, watch this. We're going to start about here. Let's go in for the peak of the cap. It's going to come out like that. Then it's going to go back in and drop down to about there. Tricky little line, that one, so I'll give you a few seconds to get that in. Next line we're going to do though, let's go and let's draw a little line going across there. And this time we're going to go up. Just flick into the back of the head. You see how it just overlaps a little bit? We've just got that kind of curve coming from the back, just tucking in there. That's pretty important. Okay, I'm going to get in. Now you've got the main part of the hat and the cap done, I'm going to get in a little tiny bit closer so you can see everything I'm doing here. Right, let's go and put in the face. So I really want to get the face of our character in next. So what we'll do is about here, we're just going to bring a little line down. This is going to help us with the positioning of the eyes. So that's like the front of the head. Then what we'll do is we're going to do a little curve round. This curve is going to be the nose and the snout. So watch this. Let's start from there, go out that way, back in there. That becomes the nose and the snout. Now our character is going to have an open mouth. So our next line, so that looks like a question mark upside down. Just go for that kind of thing. Line down, hook around. For this open mouth, we're going to just draw a line that comes kind of down a little bit to the front and then curl back up for the lip. You don't want to go too far down though, just about there. Curl back up for the lip. And then we'll finish that off by just taking it back into there. Now this will make a little bit more sense when we throw the eye in. Are you ready for the eye? In fact, let's just so watch this. Look, we are going to just change the shape of this a little bit, just that bit. Make sure that's a straight line going there, and then we can put the eye in, which is about here. Might be a bit far back, that eye, but that'll be fine. We'll get away with that. Okay, let's carry on with this then. So we've got like a pattern that we're going to do at the front next. So this character has got like a big cross, big red circle, all sorts going on at the front. So let's go and do the cross first. Now don't start too big. What it will look like, a little V shape coming right from there first. If you do that V shape, almost touching the edge of the hat, do that V shape, we can easily turn that into a cross being viewed from the side. So watch this. Look, to change that, just bring a line down and back up. Take a line up and back in. And then it's just going to look like that cross from the side. Put that in two circles. There's one. There's two. And then throw a few more circles, little tiny circles around that. So here we go, just there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feels about right. Okay. Here we go with the next section. We're going to throw in a little ear shape. So unusual little shape for this ear. See if you can work with this kind of shape. Look, what we're going to do is we're going to come across here. We're going to hook down like it's a D shape, but then when we get back up to the top of the D shape, we're going to hook it around and back again. Okay, so like this. Look, just about there. Look, we're going to go across, hook round like it's a D shape. It's turning into a D, but as we get back up to the top here, we hit the top, we turn around and go back to the bottom. All one line. See if you can have a little go at that. So starting at the top, just go across, turn it into a D shape. Nice, no corners in there. Blend it around, turn it into a D shape. As you're about to finish off that D shape, hook around the opposite way and go back to the bottom of the D. Awesome. Just above that, let's do a U shape on its side. Look, little U shape, kind of tilting over to its side is what we want to go for. This bit is the trickiest part. Okay, so you go really light with your pencil lines just in case you do need to adjust these. And then what we'll do is with that U shape there is we're going to draw like two sausages coming up from either side. So leave a little bit of a gap. Do a little line there, a little line there. So we've got these little curves. It's kind of joining on. But then look, watch this. We're going to turn that around. We're going to come back. Don't quite touch that line that you started. Same on the other side. Turn it around. Come back. Don't quite touch that line that you started. Might be easier for me to draw the rest of this in and then you can decide where all your lines can go. At the front there's going to be two kind of sections to this antler, so let's go and do that again. Look, it comes up from there. This time it will touch. On the back there's going to be three parts to the antler, so the second part won't touch, but the third part will. That's what we're going for, that kind of a shape. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds to do that. We've just got a couple more lines to throw in and then we're pretty much done on this. In reality, when I look at this artwork, the hat is a little bit small for the face, or the face is too big for the hat. So it isn't an exact copy of the actual artwork. So don't stress if yours isn't looking exactly the same. If your hat is bigger than mine, then you're actually more accurate to the original artwork. Right, last little bit we're going to do is just a little band, a little couple of curves just there. On there, so on that part of the antler, so it looks like we're going to have a little metal band around there. But then also down here, watch this, we're going to put in a little shape just there to help make that look like a little buckle. Okay. I'm going to make one last little change to this, just something to make it kind of all sit right. And that is that this chin line here, technically that chin line there should be going around and joining into that hat part there. So I'm just going to tweak that line a little bit by making it go up and across like that. Just so that it looks like it's all part of the same line. Now let me rub out a few little lines so you can see how this is meant to look. If I can actually, can't find my rubber, so I'm going to use my pen rubber. Now this is usually used for drawing with, as you can see, because it's making a right mess. I just want to get rid of those two little lines so you can see what it's meant to look like in there. Oh, yeah, here it is. I prefer a manual rubber. There you go. That feels a bit better. Still not spot on, but that feels a little bit better. Okay, what we're going to do now is just spend a little bit of time rubbing out any of those lines that are not going to have a black line over the top. So definitely just tidy up that little bit around there. We've got a little random line kind of going through the eye and the face there. So let's get rid of that. This little line that goes through the peak of the cap. Get rid of that. Let me just bring it back to you so you can see which lines are important, which are not. That's what you want it to look like. Last few little lines to get rid of are up here in the antlers. Those little lines for the hat. Bring the antlers back to the front. There we go. Right, we've spent a big chunk of time doing those pencil lines, so let's go and put in some pen lines, some colour now, shall we? So we're going to start off with the reds. So if you remember, we had a dark red and a light red. I say reds, I mean mine were very corally pinky colours like this. So that's what I'm going to go for. So I'm going to do all of this bit, the outside of that red cross, the inside of the circle, that's just going to be that light pink. Then I'm going to do the peak of the cap in that light pink as well. But what I'm going to do when I've done that is just drop a little shadow underneath the peak of the cap and maybe just curl it up around the back here as well as the peak of the cap goes underneath the main bulk of the hat. Okay, so I'm going to get both lids off because I like to work quite quick. So getting both lids off is a great way of doing that. And let's go and put some colour on this section first. Now it's meant to be red, kind of a pale red. This coral is the perfect colour. Go behind that cross. Are we outlining? Yeah, we will be outlining this cross anyway, so it doesn't matter if you're not perfect with your colouring in. But all of this section here, we're not going to bother with any shading. I'm not going to bother with any shading. You can if you want to. But we're just going to make it all one flat colour up the top there. Now where we are going to put some shadow in is on this bit. So let's go and colour now the peak of the cap. Loads of colour, loads of ink on there. Get into all those little gaps. Then down the bottom here we're going to add a shadow. So watch where we're putting this shadow. First thing we'll do is a stripe across the bottom of the peak of the cap. And then just curl it up. Look. Curl it up like that, and then in there let's just soften that up. So go and pick up that lighter colour again, just a little tickle over that line, little tickle just to kind of soften it up a little bit. There we go, that looks alright to me. That's the only bit we're doing in red, so we can get rid of those red pens now. I always like to keep them handy just in case I'm going to try this again, or I've seen some of you kind of like swatching the colours as well. So I do a little spot and a little number, so you know what colours you've used in any drawing you've done. Okay. So now let's go and do the blue part of the hat. Now the two colours I'm using for the blue, I'm using this like sky blue IB1 and then this denim, this TB3. So they don't kind of go with each other because they're two different naming conventions. But I've tested them out and they kind of work out quite nicely. I'm going to do the entire hat in the lighter blue. And then when I've done all of that, just down the back of this strap and the back of the head, I'm just going to put in a little tiny tickle of the darker blue there and blend it in. So there's not going to be too much shadow in this one. Going to leave the white stripe, going to leave the white spots, going to leave the antlers, going to leave the ear. All of that stuff's left. Right, lids off. And let's work our way down. So usually when I'm blending with colours, the bit that I'm going to blend is always the last bit that I put some colour on, because that just makes sure that it's as wet as it can possibly be, which generally makes it easier for blending. So let's just start our way at the top here and just slowly move down. Keep on moving around. You don't want to let any of this get too dry, especially when you're colouring in big areas. If you want that flat look, keep it working. If you're using the proper paper, it usually stays wet a little bit longer without bleeding. If like me, if you're just using cheaper paper like I used to use when I first started doing these sessions, then you just need to work a little bit faster on making sure that no areas get too dry. But here we go. Look, just working around those little white buttons. We will outline those. Let's get into this section here. Look, it's all getting a bit tighter now, which is great. Now just consider where we're putting our shadow in. So we know we're putting our shadow in at the back of the buckle and at the back of the head. So now we're just going to try and make our way towards that section. Get this bit at the top here coloured in. Forget about that bit in between the antlers. We can do that at any stage. But get this bit at the top here coloured in, leaving the section that we're going to blend to the very last. Here we go. So right in the bottom there. Let's finish all that off. Lots of ink. Go over it a couple of times. Lots of ink in there. Keep it nice and wet. And then this is where the shadow is going to live. So go and grab that darker pen. And the shadow is going to be nice. It's going to come from the back here. A little point forward. And then a hook around the back again. Yeah, so just a little point forward. Comes up from that. From the back of the strap, little point forward, and again just a little tiny tickle on this. Don't want to blend it in too much. I kind of like that sharp shadow, but just a little tiny tickle just to give it a slight blend. If you need to, get back in with that darker colour, especially in these really dark areas right at the bottom here. Give it a second little coat. Fairly easy part to do. Let's go and colour this last little section in between the antlers. And like I say, nice and easy to do that bit. We haven't really got to worry about that. That's what you're going to need your blue for. We can go and park the blues. We don't need to come back to those either. Next section. Let's go and do the antlers. If you remember the antlers with the two darker browns, we'll do our usual thing. We'll colour everything with a lighter colour. Here we go. We'll colour everything with a lighter colour, then we'll put a little shadow on with a darker colour. The only place the shadow is going to be is on the back, on the bottom of this bit here, and just on this back bit here. We're not really going to mess around with too many shadows in there. It's almost cell shading rather than blending. Either way, still both lids off. Makes it nice and quick with that lighter colour. Let's go and start colouring him. Now don't forget these will kind of dry a little bit lighter than what they are at the moment. Also don't forget, as you get into the bottom part of that antler, remember those two little stripes that you put in, or those two little lines you put in, that's going to create a little stripe, so don't go over that bit. There we go, just working our way through each antler now. That last antler, remember that last antler is the one that's going to carry a lot of the shadow. So once you're at that point, let's go and throw that shadow on. So that shadow comes up the back here, little point forward, and then a big old shadow all the way around the back. That's all it is. Grab your lighter pen, give it a little tickle, just blend it in just gently. We don't want to go too overboard with blending it in, just a nice gentle blend in there. Finish off with this little bit down the bottom. So forget we've got that little stripe in there. A little bit down the bottom, maybe even throw in a little bit of the dark brown. That's all it takes. We'll leave that to dry, see how that comes out. We will need those two colours again though. We are going to use that brown for a few little spots on our character's chin, okay? Last section then, let's go and colour the face and the ear. So this is where I've got these two real pale colours, got TN1, TN3, so two very pale tan colours. Going with the lighter first, going with the darker shadow after, and then with the lighter colour, finish it all off. So we know the shadow, the big blending of the shadow is going to be around the chin underneath here. We will add a little stripe across the top as well, but that'll be a stripe, that won't be a blended shadow. That'll just be a stripe coming out of because of the hat. So let's go and put in a little bit of this colour. Don't colour in the eye. We want to see the eye is going to be white. The middle part of the eye is going to be black. Starting at the top here, because we know that is where, well, we know the bottom bit is where we're going to do the blending, so get all those bits at the top coloured in first. Try and throw on a little bit more ink as you get down the bottom, because we are going to need it to be wet so we can blend it in nicely. And here we go, the only little shadow we're going to put in. So with that next tone up, just a little tiny shadow across there, look. Starts out as a line, but then when you get the lighter colour again, you're just going to drag that dark shadow up, drag the dark shadow up, drag the light bit down, scrub over that line till you get a nice blend in there. Before you put that away, there you go. And grab that dark colour again. One last little line. Let's go across the top here. Try not to get into the white of the eye like I've just done. Just put a little shadow across the top that's going to be cast by the cap. Into the ear. The ear's nice and easy. We're just going to do the front part of the ear in this light colour. And we'll do the back part of the ear in the darker colour. And already that ear just looks like it makes a lot more sense now. Now we've put those little shadows in there. Now at the start of the session I didn't mention that we might actually need to use a grey, but if you've got a grey handy, let's just go and grab a grey. We're going to use the stiff nib of the grey. And these metal bits, I just want to put a little metal in there and in there. We're just going to put a little shadow in, so just there, a little tiny shadow of grey in there. Just follows around the brown shadow that we've already got in here. And then on this bit, I just want to put in a little bit of a shadow, so just think about where the shadow might live. I think it'll be just there, across the bottom there, and up the side here. See how that just makes a little bit more sense? It's on the outside there, it's on the bottom right. The outside, on the inside, it's on the top left. In fact, we could even possibly just put in, whilst we're tweaking things, put in that little shadow across there. So it looks like that bit of hat is just wrapped around underneath that bit of metal. Okay. I think we're good. Let's go and put some line work on here, shall we? So go and grab the fatter of your two pens. So I'm using a 0.5 for mine today, but you use whatever you're comfortable with. And we'll do the usual thing. We'll we'll outline the bits that are closest to us first, and then just slowly work our way backwards. So the bit that's sticking out the most is those antlers. So let's go and do those. So let's go and do this bit. Look, watch this. We're going to do this first kind of sausage shape all the way around that one, into the centre, all the way around the other one, and a little flick towards the bottom. So do that great big U shape first. Let's double line that. Now it's not necessarily a technique that the artist that draws these characters employs of double lining, but it's a technique I employ. So that's why I'm going to do it. And this is fan art. This isn't meant to be an exact copy of the original piece. This is our version of it. A little flick across there, look, just to show a little twist. Let's go and do this little sausage out on this side, look. Double line out, flicked off at the bottom. Then we can go and do the rest of the antlers. Just a standard outline, getting into that bit. And then going around there. Go around there, and then we are going to put a little line that kind of outlines that little metal bit there. Technically we should have a little bit more detail in there, but I'm just going to keep it kind of simple. for the time being. But there's our outline. That's good. Remember, double line it. Nice and wonky. Wonky lines are good. As long as everything's wonky, we'll get away with all sorts. But that's our first bit. Let's go and do that ear now. Once we're over at that side, let's do the ear. Now the ear is nice and easy because it is that D shape. So start at the back, D shape, hook back, and go over that twice. Right, this next line, you ready for this next line? We're going to start down here on the strap. We're going to follow that line up between the blue and the face. And then as we get to the top, that's when we're going to go to the peak of the cap, follow the peak of the cap round all the way back until we hit that black line again that we've just drawn, okay? So be careful where you're going with this, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to smudge anything by rubbing your hand over a line that you've only just drawn. Sometimes I find it easier to do like a practice swing. So if I pretend that I'm going to go like that, I can see where my hand needs to go and whether it will actually go over anything that I'm going to smudge. So I think I'm going to do better that way around. So let's start from there. Into the peak of the cap. Around that peak. Bring it home until you hit that black line again. There we go. Let's go and double line all of that. That looks okay. Now watch this next line. We are going to just start off with a little tiny line from about here. And bring it all the way back there. So it's really tapered and thin. It just gets slowly thicker until we take it off to that point. We'll leave the face till last. We'll come back to that in a second, but let's go and do the rest of the hat. My suggestion would be to do this little bit down here first, because what we're going to do, it's just going to go across and a little flick up there. Don't forget we need that little flick into the head. Then we can go around the rest of the hat. So starting here, look. Double lining, go behind the antlers. Bring it around the back. Tuck it in. Let's carry on with that hat. Let's go and outline all those little shapes that we've got at the front. Let's go and outline those. So first of all, we've got that little cross. So we'll go and double line that. Then we've got those two little circles. Let's go and double line those two little circles. Not little circles, they're kind of big curves that are circles going round that cross. So we're going to outline those, and then we've got those small little circles around that as well. And again, each time with a little bit of double lining. Let's bring this home. First thing we're going to do as we bring this home is we're going to throw in a little button nose. So just here, look, this character's got a nose. So let's go and put that nose in there first. Just going to make it make a lot more sense. Then we can outline the rest of the face. So a little bit across the forehead, a little bit across the snout. down into the bottom lip, a little flick up, and then around the chin or the cheek, whatever you want to call it. We will outline the eyes as well. No reflections or anything like that. Just one little line going around the outside here. And then colour in the inside. Awesome. Right, last little bit, that little bracket, whatever you want to call it. Let's go and outline that. There we go. We've got everything outlined. So now it's time to really personalize this piece. So let's just go and have a little bit of fun with it. We can drop in some more shadows. We can drop in some more patterns. We don't have to adhere with what the original artwork says. The only bit I will do that was the original artwork is I'm just going to get this tan, the lighter of the two darker colours that I was using for the antlers, and I'm just going to throw in a couple of little spots around the back there. Look. So yeah, go throw those in. And then my suggestion is always go in with the original colour. So like this pale blue, this IB1, let's just go back in with that. And let's just go and have a little bit of fun. Now you can do everything from like adding shadows to adding like extra shapes and lines. So we can just go in, put a little line around there. Look. There is no right or wrong with this. Just go and have a little bit of fun with it. So I'm just putting some extra little shadows around there. You can barely see them. Put some little spots in. As you get into this darker area, maybe put some little spots in with the darker blue. Like that. Just work your way through all of the colours, in fact. So let's go in with these corals now. Let's go and put some spots and things in here. Not showing up too much, so I'm going to go with the darker colour. There we go. What's next? Let's get those browns. Go and do something in with those antlers. Now this is where you might actually want to go and add an extra little shadow. So just go and grab your thin pen. Maybe you like adding these extra little shadows. This is your artwork. You can do exactly what you want with it. That was with the lighter of the two browns. I'm just going to go and do another little shadow with the darker of the two browns. Just making this back even darker. Look. And maybe throwing in some really dark spots. Into that skin tone, anything you want to add into that skin tone. I'm going to put in a little bit of a darker shadow underneath this section here. A little bit under the eye. extra little spots, just really subtle little spots in there. And there we go. I think that's about it. So I would definitely suggest going and checking out One Piece. Definitely suggest going and checking out Chopper as well, and see if you can find some, maybe do the body of Chopper. But yeah, find some other versions of this character to draw. It is quite tricky because of those antlers, but you've got a nice easy way of drawing them just there. I'm going to finish off. I'm just going to take a couple of these colours on the outside, maybe a few little black spots on the outside. I'm not going to do anything down here because I may actually just draw the rest of the character. But yeah, all I like doing is taking that blue. Let's put some just little blue spots close by. Lighter blue. Go with the bigger spots further away. Whoops, just did a little bit under there when I said I wasn't going to. A few black spots. Just to kind of finish that off. There we go, and that is my easy way to draw Chopper from One Piece. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's whack in a quick signature. And we are done. Tiny little drawing for such a big sheet of paper, so I definitely think I'll come back to this one, maybe draw some of the other characters scattered around this piece. We'll see how we go. But there it is. Well done for taking part. Thank you very much for joining in. I'll see you in the next video.